I was good, YouTube. Welcome back to another freaking reaction video. In this video, y'all see we got some inmates on the screen, bro. 20 craziest reactions of convicts after giving a life sentence, bro. Somebody tell me that I got a life sentence, bro. I ain't gonna cap. I'm not gonna know what to do, bro. Probably commit the S on GTA or something, bro. I don't know what I'm gonna have to do, but hey, hopefully I'll never have to go down that path. No cap. But let's hop straight into the video.
Gonna spend the rest of your life in prison is a lot to take in, regardless of the crime you committed. But just when you think you know how people will react to such a sentence, they go and surprise you. From a laughing killer to one that yelled at a judge, here are 20 craziest reactions of convicts given a life sentence. Number 20. Esteban Carpio. Boston, Massachusetts convicted prison inmate Esteban was sentenced to life in prison without parole for the murder of a policeman in 2005. When Providence police were questioning him for stabbing an 85-year-old woman, a detective had left the room to get a drink of water for Esteban. This left him alone in the room with Police Detective Sergeant James L. Allen. Once the detective had left the room, Esteban grabbed James's gun and shot him twice.
Why they whooped the fuck out of him?
Resulting in his death. Esteban then jumped out the third-floor interview room window before being caught less than an hour later. Incredibly, Esteban was brought to his arraignment wearing a mask that was designed to stop offenders from biting or spitting on people. He also had red eyes, cheeks, and a red forehead, along with swelling around his forehead and cranial region.
Every day, I face the facts of what I did and what happened.
It wasn't so much his crazy reaction that shocked people, but that of his family. When he was sentenced to life in prison, his family screamed and yelled about police brutality.
He literally killed the officer in plain sight. Bro, he killed the officer. What they mad at the judge and for? And how
an FBI investigation concluded that excessive force had not been used given the circumstances, and that his injuries were sustained when he jumped from the third floor of the building and during his struggle with law enforcement. Number 19. Anthony Rodriguez. Anthony Rodriguez, who had just turned 18, was on parole when he robbed, kidnapped, and sexually assaulted a 25-year-old woman in Martin Luther King Jr. Park, dragging her 105 feet into a bathroom. Anthony had previous arrests for violence, but this appeared to be his first for sexual assault. According to reports,
damn. See, usually when they talk about sexual assault, like they think anything sexual assault is nowadays, but damn, he dragged a woman to a bathroom, then did what he had. Yeah, nah, that's definitely sexual assault, girl.
Anthony had been quiet throughout the entire ordeal, but that soon changed when the judge sentenced him to 25 years to life. He started directly talking to the judge with tears in his eyes, yelled profanities, and called the ruling unfair. He had to be forced to sit down.
Yeah.
Anthony clearly wasn't happy with the outcome of the trial, and neither was his family. Afterward, his mother said that he didn't deserve life in prison and that something was wrong for him to receive such a heavy sentence. Anthony wasn't the first person to be arrested for the same crime. Previously,
they have Cheerios.
Mike Zarate Jacobo was under arrest on suspicion of rape and stayed in a downtown jail for 35 days until DNA evidence cleared him. That DNA evidence instead linked 18-year-old Anthony Rodriguez to the crime.
They caught that boy.
Number 18. Jaleel Smith Riley.
Why that name sounds
Jaleel Smith Riley was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole in 2016 for shooting and killing Portia Brooks and severely injuring her boyfriend Aaron Martin during a robbery. Portia and Aaron were sitting in a parked car in Norwood when Jaleel approached the vehicle with two others and ordered Aaron.
Man, why you have to do that to Portia?
To get out. When Jaleel discovered that he had nothing of value to take, he shot him in the head before leading into the vehicle and shooting Portia as well. A Crime Stoppers tip led the police to Jaleel, who was charged with aggravated murder, attempted murder, aggravated robbery, and 2 counts of felonious assault. Damn. To avoid the death penalty, he pleaded guilty and faced a sentence of life without parole.
Damn.
When he was sitting in the gallery, Portia's family spoke to the court and Jaleel. Jaleel then had to try and convince the court that he deserved leniency. He started crying in court with tears rolling down his face. He said, "I just want to come home one day." Mwah.
I just want to come home one day.
His attorney stepped in and said Jaleel was someone who felt genuine remorse and thought about what he did every day. He said he couldn't undo what he did. The judge had the final word and sentenced Jaleel to life without parole. As soon as those words came out of his mouth, Jaleel fell to the floor crying. Number 17.
Bro, imagine your life just down a drain, bro.
Danta Wright.
He like G Money. He like G Money.
When someone tells you that they've lost their only child, their son, their baby, and their friend, it's only natural for you to feel sadness. You might also feel a great deal of remorse if you're the reason why someone isn't alive. But when a victim impact statement was read out to the court and the person responsible for murdering 18-year-old Jordan Clee, the court was in shock. The defendant, 17-year-old Danta Wright, who was sentenced to 23 to
17
What
years
is our
old.
play? You play and it
25.
records. You can choose exactly what you want it to record, whether it be kills, assists.
50 years in prison, smiled, and nearly laughed. When his lawyer attempted to say that his client said it was never his intention to injure, Danta interrupted him to address the court himself. You might think that at this point he might express remorse from the heart, but that is not what happened at all. Instead, he smiled as he said, "I just want to tell y'all I'll be home soon. I love my family."
I tell y'all I'll be home soon. R.I.P. Keon, I love my family.
This definitely wasn't
What the fuck?
well received by most people in the courtroom. The judge asked prosecutors if the sentencing agreement was too merciful. He followed up by saying that watching Danta sit there, smiling, laughing, and shaking his head like it was no
respect. I'm sorry.
no big deal, he was tempted to say he wasn't going to accept the sentencing agreement and take the case to trial. If convicted of felony murder, that would mean Danta would be in prison for the rest of his life. That means you'll die there. That's what I'm tempted to do, the judge said. Number 16. Insane acting.
Like, why would you just sit there and laugh if you know, bro, they gave this man 50 years instead of life, and he gonna sit there and laugh, bro?
Man. When a man was charged with possession of a weapon during a violent crime, along with murder, he acted in a way that surely made the people around him think he was gonna crack at any minute. Not only was he clenching his fist, but he was also making strange sounds, shaking his head, and standing before the judge with his teeth bared for the entire time that she was describing how things were gonna play out. The judge also tried to ask the man questions, but he wouldn't answer all of them consistently.
Do you answer my questions?
When she asked whether he'd like to be screened for a court-appointed lawyer or whether he could hire his own, he didn't answer immediately. He then proceeded to ask the judge whether he looked like he could afford one, and then said he didn't need one. It's not known what the outcome of this case was, but even during the early stages of his case, his reactions were absolutely terrifying. When the video was uploaded to the
that's
internet,
one of my worst fears, bro, going to jail.
and many people were quick to point out that the man was likely trying to act insane so that he could enter an insanity plea. We're not sure of the case's outcome, but you're surely interested to know whether he managed to keep up this look. Number 15. Jacob Matthew Morgan. In 2015, a 14-month-old baby died in a house fire while at home with his 17-year-old brother, Jacob Morgan of Rock Hill, South Carolina. Jacob was initially charged with murder and pleaded guilty to the crime in October 2021. He was charged with involuntary manslaughter, unlawful conduct towards a child, and third-degree arson after setting his home on fire and willfully killing his brother, Joshua Alexander Hill. The court stated that Jacob set 2 fires, exited the home, and left his brother inside to die. Jacob hasn't given formal statements about how the fire started, but later said he lit a pillow on fire and threw it in the air. Authorities think 2 sets of fires were started, one in the master bedroom where the baby was asleep and another in the living room. In a probable cause hearing, Jacob
These niggas different.
cried, pleaded, and prayed with absolute terror in his eyes before he was charged with arson and murder connected to his brother. He was then led out of the courtroom crying. Eventually, Jacob was charged for the killing of Joshua Hill, and he would be sentenced to 15 years in prison. His mother, Julie Hill, said Jacob has developmental issues and loved his little brother. Number 14. Lukachi
It was
Kendall.
probably an accident, but you never know, bro, because either way, he had some type of conscience knowing that his little brother in the house, bro. Even if you did like the pillow and throw it up, bro, come on now. You could have at least got your brother out, too.
Lukachi Kendall was working as a security guard for a strip club where Kewan Bird and his friend Michael Smathers had gone for a night out. They decided to exit the club, sit in Michael's car for a while, and then return to the club minutes later. Lukachi parked next to Kewan and Michael and started dressing for his job, which included putting on a vest, gloves, baton, knife, gun, and ammunition. All three men made visual contact before Lukachi retreated to the club. As Kewan and Michael got out of the car to go back into the club, Lukachi opened fire, shooting Kewan in the back 8 times, killing him.
Damn.
Michael was left paralyzed from the waist down. In court, when Lukachi alleges insanity and requests to be put in a mental institution rather than prison, Kewan's father starts yelling at Lukachi, screaming that he murdered his son for nothing.
You don't need to be laying no mental hospital. You need to go.
I seen this, yeah, because I think that they're trying to put him in a mental hospital. Hell no, put his ass in jail. That nigga not retarded.
Security guards and family tried to calm Kewan's father, but he had to be dragged out of the courtroom. During the trial, Lukachi didn't present any evidence, didn't testify, and didn't accept court-appointed standby counsel. He was convicted of second-degree murder and attempted murder and was sentenced to life in prison. Number 13. Kayla Mendoza. Kayla Mendoza is known for having tweeted "too drunk to care" before being involved in a wrong-way collision on the South Florida Expressway while intoxicated. She took the lives of 2 women and was sentenced to 24 years in prison. Kayla cried and showed remorse throughout her entire trial and was sentenced in 2014.
Damn.
Watch this. I can show you how to get the biggest discount.
Is it sexist to see that you expect more niggas to do, like more people to do? I'm not gonna say niggas because y'all gonna think that I'm talking about specifically bad, but y'all expect more like men to do the kind of the stuff like that, bro. I'd be shocked in a way when a female do some, you know,
or crime.
No matter how much time passes, I'm gonna live with that in my heart every day that I took them.
However, Kayla was soon on a mission to have her sentence reduced to just 10 years after writing an apologetic letter to the judge who had sentenced her. Kayla said she wanted to be out of prison so that she could be involved in Mothers Against Drunk Driving. She also wanted to help save lives, even though she couldn't bring back the lives she took. Kayla also said she didn't want another family to be broken like the families that were broken because of her. Kayla wrote that she planned to take substance abuse classes and is open to probation. She also wanted to work to pay restitution, court costs, and money owed in a civil lawsuit. Judge Hames said prosecutors would respond to Kayla's request within 90 days, and the families of the 2 women killed planned on making their feelings known. Number 12.
So did she get life? That's the question.
Ryan Stone.
A nigga last name Stone.
Ryan
Yeah,
Stone was sentenced to 160 years in prison for taking officers on a lengthy chase in 2014. He was convicted
160 years?
of several charges, such as attempted manslaughter, child abuse, and car theft during a 90-minute car chase. Ryan stole a car outside a gas station with a 4-year-old inside before crashing it into a van. He dragged the van driver out by her legs before stealing it and hitting a state trooper who was laying a tire deflating device, resulting in a broken leg. He struck several more cars before being arrested. In jail, Ryan was videoed bragging about mimicking a video game to a female visitor. He also talked about the potential to profit from the chase video and getting paid by YouTube. His boastful behavior was in direct contrast to how he looked and acted when he was being sentenced to his crimes in the first place.
Think he's finna get that
He
YouTube
blamed
paycheck? Shit, send me that money.
drugs, acted tearfully, and asked the
take your
judge to
monetization off
please
your
give
hands,
him
my
a
brother.
break. Ryan and his family said he struggled with drug addiction and that his meth use left him with very little memory of the chase. The goal was for the court to see him as troubled rather than violent. But the judge didn't give him a break, and a Douglas County jury convicted Ryan of 18 charges.
So niggas could play like they mentally something wrong with them, and the only thing they'll do is put them like in like a mental hospital or like a mental space. And that's crazy.
Charges that would see him spend 160 years or the rest of his life in prison. Number 11.
Damn, bro.
Jordan Fuss. Jordan Fuss was 19 years old when he reached speeds of over 90 miles an hour in his 2004 Infiniti G35 before crashing it into another vehicle carrying the Giraldo family. That accident resulted in the death of a 6-year-old boy after the Giraldo family's car was split in half. Jordan was found to have a blood alcohol content of 0.21, which is far more than the state
Damn, you took that little 6-year-old life, bro, just because you want to be irresponsible.
legal limit of 0.08. While Jordan was being sentenced for his crimes,
we're not gonna watch this video because I gotta leave.
He was visibly shaking and crying. His attorney argued for a reduced sentence and said his client was remorseful and had considered suicide. He also told the Giraldo family that he was sorry and that he wished it was him that died, not their son.
So sorry.
Jordan did appear genuinely remorseful throughout and even said he would give his life if it meant bringing his back. However, Jordan also admitted to smoking marijuana and using alcohol since the crash. He was subsequently sentenced to 14 years in prison, with prosecutors seeking the maximum sentence of 15 years. When he was being fingerprinted after the sentencing, he tearfully said, "I love you so much," to his mother, father, brother, and the girlfriend he met online after the crash. Number 10.
That nigga reduced this shit down, so if a nigga ever go to jail for doing some shit, only thing you gotta do is cry and show some genuine shit. Then the nigga is fucking shit stupid.
Eric Pendlin. Child abuse is a horrific crime, and that's certainly one word of many to describe the actions of Eric Pendlin. When Eric's son was 3 months old, he was shaken so violently that he became permanently disabled. He suffered a broken neck, traumatic brain damage, hearing impairment, and almost complete blindness. He was also unable to hold his own head up. According to Sharon Lawson and her husband, who were fostering Eric, eventually adopted him and had been involved in the care of disabled and abused children for many years, the baby would always rely on people to bathe, dress, change, and feed him, along with administering pain medication. Maximum charges were sought because Eric had a prior record of robbery and a federal firearms charge. Prosecutors got their wish, and Eric was handed the maximum sentence for his crimes, even though he said he was innocent. As he was led out of the courtroom after being sentenced to 11 years, he shook his head and had an outburst that involved swearing at the judge and saying he hadn't done anything wrong.
Damn.
Number 9. Antonio Barbeau.
Fuck yeah, I'm already knowing he shot up a school.
Antonio Barbeau, 14 years old, and his friend Nathan Papp visited the home of Antonio's 78-year-old great-grandmother in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and she invited them inside. Once she had her back turned to call Antonio's mother, Antonio hit her on the head with a hatchet. Antonio then said he ran to the bathroom.
What the fuck, he hit her in the head with a hatchet?
As he was feeling sick, but saw his friend hitting her multiple times with a hammer. His grandmother died from her injuries. He would spend at least 36 years behind bars for his crimes and would be eligible for parole by around 50 years old. During the trial, Antonio showed a wide range of emotions. He would wipe away tears at times, and he even smirked and shook his head when the prosecutor spoke.
Your grandma, sister, friend, when I had no right to do so.
He pleaded no contest and was convicted of killing his great-grandmother.
He killed his great-grandma, boy.
Broke down and sobbed when he was sentenced and tried to read an apologetic statement. However, he started crying while reading it, and his defense attorney had to read it. He too was on the brink of tears as he read it. The judge said that the sentence was the minimum based on the crime and that the crime was nothing short of horrific. According to the judge, he had not seen anything of this nature, not even close, in his 24 years on the bench. Number 8. Jeffrey.
I gotta go to work and shit. Bro, what the fuck? The whole time, and she just took my call too. Hey, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, bro. I record some more reaction videos and shit, and the fucking shit, and we out the shit.